Today, I want to talk about the economy. You might be surprised at addressing such a topic. Money, possessions, the creation of wealth. That's going to be a pretty serious topic for all of us as lockdown unwinds and the next 2 or 3 years unfold. Jesus tells an interesting story in Matthew 25, the parable of the talents, 5 and 2 and 1. You can read the story there in Matthew. It's fascinating. Jesus says, I hope you're going to put this money to work. And the guy who buries his 1 talent in the ground, Jesus says, at least you could have given it to the bankers and they'd have done a little bit with it. I mean, Jesus must have anticipated the thing today where interest rates are so incredibly low, putting your money in a bank doesn't get much money out of it, not much return. Jesus said, you at least could have done that. Instead, you buried it in a hole in the ground. Interesting, the whole investment strategy of Jesus and what he encourages in this chapter. Now, some people think that talking about money or the economy not really a suitable subject for a Christian leader. Shouldn't we be focusing on faith and spiritual gifts and the fruit of the Spirit and so on? But actually, you might be surprised to learn that in the whole of the Bible, there are probably around 800 references to money or wealth or possessions. And in the parables of Jesus, of the 40 parables, 11 of them have money as a significant illustrative feature. Jesus is not afraid to talk about it, and we should not be afraid to talk about it too. Now, why should we be praying about the economy? This coronavirus stuff is largely about health. That's the presenting question. Lots of people fear it. A few people are unwell, and sadly quite a small number pass away, but it's still very sad. But there are ramifications far beyond the health issue. And when you start talking about the economy, sometimes people say, well, it's not very caring, we should be talking about health, never mind the economy. But that is very much a false antithesis. If our economy is shot to bits, we're already, the Chancellor tells us, in a recession because of it. But if it's really, really broken, as everybody says it's going to be, far more than the financial crisis of 2008, this is going to have serious implications. If there are millions more unemployed, tax receipts will be vastly reduced, and the need for the state to pay benefit will be vastly increased. Add to that a whole range of businesses closing, and the challenges that there are of the debt that we've accumulated during the coronavirus, you'll see that the economy has taken a massive hit. And this is not just a discussion about money. This affects real people and their livelihoods and their mental health. We know that unemployment is devastating to some people's sense of self-worth and their general capacity to provide for their families, their mental health. In the absence of enough money, the poor will be those who suffer the most. So we should be praying for our economy and for wisdom as we stimulate the economy going forward. This is no dry matter of some kind of fiscal policy. This affects real people's lives. As long ago as Thucydides, writing 450 years before Jesus, he has a very telling phrase in it. The rich will do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. It was a kind of fatalism that poor people are just going to have to struggle. That's just the way of the world. But no Christian can tolerate that view. Jesus won't allow us to. His passion for the poor is evident throughout the gospel narratives. We have a responsibility for the marginalised, for those on the edges, for those with least access to the levers of power, the least wealth. And if we're much poorer as a country, indeed as a world, then the rich will get by and the weak will suffer what they must, which is tragic. So we must be praying for our economy and for the wisdom to stimulate it and for the provision and the acquiring of national wealth, in order that that wealth, once acquired, of course, must be spent in the right way. But let's be praying for governments and for wisdom so that we can see the poorest in our society cared for well, even in what are going to be very, very difficult, hard times financially in the next few years at least. So let's let these things be in our prayers today as we look to the long distance future and some of the very, very deeply difficult implications for our finances nationally that will come as a result of COVID-19.